Welcome back to Midranges Disc Golf in a super cloudy day. Today I'm at Community Park in Channahon, Illinois, just outside of Chicago for the 35th Channahon Classic, which starts tomorrow, Saturday. So today I want to get a practice round in and show you everything that goes through my head while I'm practicing. So in this video, we're going to go through my bag as well as my general thoughts. I want to be a little more laid back, show you most of my shots and all my thought process so I don't have to do as much editing, but you guys also get to see a little bit more into my mindset because you guys have been telling me that's what you want. So let's get into the bag real fast, practice putting, and get onto the course. Now, to be honest with you, my bag for this session is probably going to look a little bit different than my bag for the tournament, but we'll finalize that at the end of the video because in my putter pocket here, I have my two putting putters, but I might not practice too many putts out there unless it's a weird basket because I can always just come back to the practice basket, and I want to not throw as many throws out on the course because it's pretty busy and I want to give my arm a little bit of a rest. But I'm bringing the Sky God 4 back into my bag because I've realized now putting the Toro in my bag as of that video yesterday, this is taking the place of some of my zones, and I'm not trusting my ESP zone on forehand lines as much as I was before. So this is my more stable Sky God 4 that I'm going to try to work on those forehand lines to see if it'll work or if I need to find a new disc. But still on backhands, it's just way too deep for my hands. My Opto Pure, my Toro, as well as my ESP zone, and then just my super flippy Pure. That's great for just woods turnover shots or anything that needs to go from a crazy hyzer to flat. I also have two more discs down here which are in the putter category for me. The zone right here, my Z zone, which I'd replaced pretty much with my Toro, and then this Sky God 4, which has two aces on it, but I don't think I'm going to be using it. I brought it just in case. It's just a little more flippy than this green one, which I've only thrown like 3 times. For mids, I am bringing only 4 mids, I guess. I have my Justice, super overstable, my Fuse, super understable, this pretty beat-in Lucid Emax Truth, which is pretty much for me hyzer flip right now, a little bit of turn, and it'll go pretty point and straight, honestly. Point and shoot, not point and straight. And then my Lucid X Glimmer Emax Truth, which is my overstable, throwable mid-range, whereas this is more of a utility disc to get me out of trouble, or if I need something to just get big skips or go hard left. Oh gosh, a lot of fairways. We're looking at from overstable to understable, my 2021 Germ Thunderbird. This disc is pretty beefy for me. I actually played with someone yesterday who was throwing like 150 feet farther than me, and this thing was like hyzer flippy for him, which is kind of crazy because I have this Thunderbird, which is more of my hyzer flip, F2 super beat-in champion. Love this disc. And then this is one that I normally don't bag, but I'm bringing it today because it's slightly more stable than this guy and it flies more true to what a Thunderbird does fly like. And so I'm thinking this might be perfect for some forehands that I don't want to turn over. I tend to turn over my forehands with this Thunderbird, so I'm going to throw this I think on one hole because I came here yesterday and played some doubles with Steve, who's actually a subscriber. So what's up, Steve, if you're watching, and then some other people. It was a lot of fun. Then I got my Explorer, which is my hyzer flip to somewhat turn. This is point and shoot disc in the woods for me. My Evader, slightly more stable than my Explorer, and this is the only Evader in my bag right now because I think the Thunderbirds overlap a decent bit with this, and I might be switching this to an Explorer, but still have that for now. And then my River, which is super flippy, but also super glidey, so this goes far if I need it to on a straight line. For my distance drivers, I actually am bringing one extra just in case. Am I missing a disc? I am. I need to go find that in the woods. I lost that yesterday. Well, I have 2 Graces. I had 3. My overstable Grace right here, it's pretty new. My very flippy Grace, which is super beat in. Then I brought 3 Rives actually. My overstable Rive. I honestly need a disc that's more overstable than this now, and I don't have one, so that stinks. This Rive, relatively flippy, pretty just straight right now, honestly, with still some finish because it's a 13 speed and a 0.3.5. And then this one, I'm not exactly sure how it flies. I think it's slightly less stable than my pink one, but more stable than my other green one. So I'm bringing it just to see how it flies on some holes. But that's the bag. I'm gonna warm up, find that Grace, hopefully in the next 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll get on to hole 1. All right, went search for it, didn't find it. Hopefully it'll turn up sometime over the next 3 or 4 days and lost and found. That would suck. That's my second just regular Orbit Grace that I would have lost. One of them got found. Hopefully I can get back to me, but I'm gonna grab 2 more Graces. One of them is my first run, which I don't really want to be throwing. The second one was a used, just Royal one, and I have no idea how it flies. I've never thrown it before, so we'll see. But I've been pretty confident with my putt recently. Just need to honestly keep that confidence because putting's so mental. Someone's on the first tee, so let's get our first talk through about what this tournament's gonna look like. I played through the course yesterday like I talked about with a little doubles match. We played from the shorts, so there's maybe 4 or 5 different longer pins that I'm gonna have to practice today. But really the name of the game for me today is practicing landing zones. I just wanna see what's a high percentage shot that'll get me inside the circle on every single hole. Because if I can capitalize on half of those, I shoot 9 down, and I'm not expecting to do that because I think probably 6 or 7 will probably be good out here. I don't know what the scores will look like, and I'm trying to not focus on the scores. I'm just going to try to shoot my best game. But normally I shoot my best round the first round. So I'm not as worried about tomorrow's round as I am Sunday's, because for some reason I don't play well after having looked at scores and thinking about what's it going to take to win. So we'll have to cross that bridge after Saturday's recap video going into Sunday. But let's get on to hole 1, where we got about 360 feet to the pin. So there is a U-disc layout here for my tournament layout, which is nice, but I'm honestly not gonna keep score because I'm not trying to play around today, try to practice. I don't wanna get any numbers in my head of, oh, this is what I can shoot, because it might be way worse than what's needed to do well. Or I could shoot a really, really good round today, be feeling really good, and not be playing up to that in the tournament and get in my own head because of it. It looks like hole 1 is 357 feet out kind of between those trees, so there's a center gap, but I'm really looking at that big hyzer line. You have to keep in mind there's water over there, so I need to throw something overstable because I don't want to turn it over. This isn't a hole that I want to throw a lot on because I don't want to be throwing a lot of max distance shots the day before my tournament, but just to kind of get warm, I am going to be throwing all 5 of these big distance drivers here, starting with my graces, because if I can reach it with my graces, especially in no wind, then that's probably what I'm going to throw because it's only 11 speed, so I don't have to throw as hard as my 13 speed rives, but I am going to try these rives just to see how each of them will fare. We'll give it a grace first, and I'm really just looking to get within the circle. Honestly, probably should have warmed up a little bit more. Probably short. Oh, that's inside the circle. I think that's about 20 feet. I'm gonna try this other grace, really hope I don't turn it over. Oh, that's pretty flippy. That's a sweet disc though. Oh, pretty similar result. This is the rive that I probably would throw. I'm probably gonna throw a grace because I can get inside the circle with a grace, but this is the rive I would throw. It's a little bit too inside. You need to really swing it wide, which is the hard part about this shot. And that's why throwing it easier just to throw can be better because it's gonna be easier for you to hit your line. Obviously, you're not throwing it as hard. So let's try this other rive. That low line is actually really nice. I like throwing lower shots anyways. And that gets a more forward skip on that low line. It's pretty solid. We're gonna see where those landed and then really be able to assess what's our high percentage shot from here. Here's what we're looking at in terms of spread of the discs. I have my rive over here. Not super bad. Grace honestly looks like a pretty decent shot. One grace is right here. What's that, 15 feet? That's an easy birdie to start the tournament. Don't miss your putts like that. Here's the other grace, which is way flippier than I thought, which actually might work. This might be that perfect level of stability that I need. Here's the rive that I threw in that low line. Honestly, either of these just on a low line because they are both fast enough that they'll skip. My overstable one, all those are pretty solid shots. That big hyzer line, I don't think I'll worry too much about. I just can't saw it off like I did my pink ride. That still gives me a putt, and the big thing I'm looking for is honestly just getting started well. Those nerves, since this is tee time starts, so I will be starting on hole 1, those nerves are probably gonna be there. So I'm probably either gonna throw really hard or really soft. And to mitigate that no matter what, I'm probably gonna throw my most stable grace or my most stable rive. I want to make sure that I am mitigating my mistakes because ultimately the first 3 holes, I'm just trying to settle into my round. Recently, I've been trying to get more aggressive, but I still keep taking bogeys during those first 3 holes. So as long as I can really mitigate those mistakes and be even through the first 3 without a bogey, that'd be better for me. Because what's been frustrating is I have been even through the first 3 holes in basically all my tournaments. I was -1 during one round, but most of the time it's with 1 birdie and 1 bogey. When you do that, your mental game starts to go because every bogey you take affects you mentally. Big, at least me, big time. Obviously need to work on that, having that not affect me, but I'd rather just take par, par, par. That's way more stress-free than birdie bogey, because then I feel like I'm giving back that birdie I already earned instead of just being like, hey, I played safe and got par. All right, here we are at hole 2. I think UDisc says this is about 430 feet. This is actually the hole I lost disc on yesterday, throwing it after a little round. Yeah, UDisc says 423, which is kind of my edge of my distance. I was super tired and hungry yesterday, and I was like getting barely to the edge of circle with some of my longer drives, but I was also throwing with like the worst form I've ever thrown. It's felt bad. Let's see how far we are from here. Yeah, it looks like it's about 398 feet, so right around 400 feet. And so this is one that like, there's gonna be a couple holes, at least right now, before I've done a ton of field work and a lot of distance work, that I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna be confident getting par. You know, that's like a good score. If I get the birdie, that's a real bonus for me right now, because I think I can get there, but I don't wanna have to force myself to. So the play for me, I think, is just throwing it straight with a grace, which is a little less stable than a rive, and letting it barely finish towards the basket. So I'm gonna try my more stable grace, then I'm gonna try to hyzer flip a grace, and then I'm gonna try some rives just to see what consistently gets there. Over stable grace. That's way inside and really short looking, but way inside. So I'm gonna try that same line just with a hyzer flip instead of simply straight. That sounds like a home security system. So that's Simply Safe. Oh gosh, Anthony. Yeah. If there's no wind, that's a really good shot. I might need to try to throw harder because I'm trying to not really throw as hard as I can. And that's why I didn't want to do that, because I'm turning it over. Good distance, but I turned it over. Let's try these rives because they're flying a little farther from me right now. I think this pink one is a great level of stability. Oh yeah, that disc is getting a little more flippy than I want. I think that's about 15, 20 feet-ish. I really need to do some distance work. One really important thing too that I'm doing out here is thinking about ground action and like where my placement is going to be. If I'm gonna be 20 or 30 feet short, I wanna be short on the left side, on the right side, or push it a little farther, but make sure it stays to the right, because that also depends on how I wanna putt at the basket. On the left side, it's a downslope. So I wanna make sure that I'm not putting towards that downslope. So staying left, like those graces, was actually pretty fine. These are all things that I'm trying to take into account as I figure out these holes. All right, here's one rive. Second green rive right there. And the pink rive is up by the basket. Like I said, about 15 feet, not even. That's the Grace I hyzer flipped. So that's also pin high, and that's honestly a better position to be in. Where's my other Grace? Found it. It was even shorter than I thought, so probably Rive for sure. Like I said, I mean, all those were within 60 feet. I'm getting up and down from every single one of them. Just like to give myself a chance for birdie. All right, we got our first relatively straightforward hole. Straight up, they got this way. My question is it a forehand or a turnover? I'm more comfortable with the forehand, which is why I brought out the Sky God to try. I do like the Toro line. You just have to get down with that first tree, but I think that's what my play wants to be on this hole. Just a little too stable. No, that turns, all right. First throw with that, and I know they're not coming into my bag. But I think, honestly, if I just throw this turnover with the pure, a little bit of anhyzer is gonna hold it and hopefully hit the wood chips in front. It's inside the circle. I don't know why I'm struggling so much with this hole. I went and snagged everything. The pure was only about 15 feet away. It looked farther. I think I need to just trust my Toro. Oh yeah. One kind of tournament thing that I've been struggling with recently is having fun. Because I always play so much better when I'm just having fun. And I get too serious in my tournaments. I'm like, this is what I want to do with my life. So I want to do on YouTube. I want to be known for it. And I also want to go on the pro tour. So I have to be perfect every time. And like, I'm not good enough to play on the pro tour right now. And I need to recognize that. So I just need to play to my skill level and have fun doing it, which is hard to do when you know how much you need to and want to improve. I just need a slightly less stable Toro, and I'm so happy. This is one pure, which I think is either just in or just outside the circle. Oof. Here's the second pure. So those pures are good shots. And here's the Toro. If I trust it, it'll get down here. Got options. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. All right, here's hole 4, 345. So kind of the edge of my forehand distance. I could throw a big backhand because I'm thinking either flex forehand over stable or just really big hyzer and try to crash in. I'm gonna try the big hyzer line first right now with the Grace. Short, really short. I'm not throwing hard right now. That's down there. I'm wondering if instead of that, trying to play the low Rive on a skip line. Way too inside. Oh, I'm throwing way left right now. Let's try that forehand line. Way right. All right, this hole's eating my lunch right now. I just really need to turn it over more. Doing a practice putting on this basket because of how elevated it is. I don't think any of those are inside the circle though. So this one might be a bonus. Not the biggest fan of that. I might need to focus more on practicing. But I realized I'm having a bad time filming and practicing. It's not easy. So props to people who do that. This Grace, this first one's honestly one of the better shots, but I was picking up some discs that I threw a low hyzer line around the outside with overstable disc. I think that's probably the line I'm gonna play because then I don't bring these woods into play unless I shank mine early. And like worst case, I get caught up in those trees, which gives me a pitch up for a par. Best case, I skip up right under the basket, but I do want to practice a little bit of putting on this basket because of how elevated it is. There's just so many people out here. This hole though, hole 5, 260. Oh, that's actually not crazy, but it's so around and then up into the corner. So maybe air forehand, my medium stable Thunderbird. I'm gonna try that out first. Oh wow, that hit a tree. I thought it was good. I'm gonna try actually my less stable Thunderbird. It's better. That's a hard shot. I am gonna try a big fuse turnover. Yeah, that's a really good line actually. Gotta get a little higher than that or a little flatter. First Thunderbird, not great with the basket up there, but my other two shots landed really close to each other. But they are outside the circle. I think the flip up hyzer forehand is a play. I think if I just hit that Thunderbird a little harder or a little less hyzer, that'll be really good. I mean, fuse got through, so a little higher would be solid as well. But another kind of uphill putt. Dang. Low. That's why we're practicing putting after this, but I've been leaving myself so many circle 2 looks these past couple tournaments. I mean, my circle 1 in regulation has probably been less than 40%. I've still been playing all right, but I'm needing to bring that closer to at least 60%. My circle 2, way higher. Because I can make some circle 2 putts. I just don't want to have to. But hole 6 is also an interesting thing here because we were playing from a longer pad. They switched it to honestly an easier pad, which I'm happy with because it gives me a better chance for birdie. The other one would be a really hard birdie for me. But we're going down this corridor to the basket all the way down there. 305. All right, that's not bad. Downhill slightly, so honestly, you could probably throw my pure, but to throw with less force is more important when hitting these gaps because the more force you throw with, the more you're gonna spray it a little bit side to side, which is fine on some holes, but not this one. So I'm gonna try to hyzer flip this on the right side and let it just fade as it slows down towards the basket. So my flippier E-metric. I was thinking of trying to throw some of these fairways. I might try one more, just my evader, to see what this looks like hitting this gap on some anhyzer flex instead of flat, but that's definitely the tournament play for me. That's solid as well. Might dig a little more or skip a little more. Way more skip. I am gonna try the pure. I mean, that Emac Truth was such a good shot. If I hit that line, that's a good chance for a birdie. Even a little harder, it's almost an ace, a little bit softer, a little more right. That's a park job. Yep, and that's why I don't want to throw harder, because I sprayed it. Like I said, good example of being bad. Other smarter people would probably call that bad example. Picked up the pure because that was a terrible shot. Evader just got a big skip. This is where the Emac Truth went, pin high, just a little inside here. Oh my goodness. Definitely need a practice spot. If you can throw a mid or putter, it's gonna be much slower and not get nearly as much skip, which is really good when you're throwing towards the woods. This basket is up around the corner to the right there. I think the two obvious plays are turnover with my pure, which I almost threw great yesterday, and just a simple forehand with the Toro. I'm gonna try the Toro play first because I think that's a little safer play. I don't know, they're both really solid plays. It's only 236 feet. It's really inside. And the Toro is more stable than my zone. That's solid. That's a really good turnover shot. All right, snag the Toro. That is one of the problems with throwing new discs in your bag right before a tournament. The way that I can throw the Toro is so much more seamless than the zone, but it's 4204, not 4303, and you can definitely tell that stability difference. So even though it's coming out easier, I'm throwing it with the same power as my zones, and I just need to be throwing it a little bit harder, which I can do on most of the holes that I drive. So much better for me for upshots, but just in case I am gonna bag that zone as a backup, even though I'm a little more confident with the Toro right now, but all these discs, I mean, all four of these right here, I thought the pure was far, it was not. Toro, zone, one pure, two pure, parked. All right, here we're at hole 8. It says 254 straight up the hill, so probably plays closer to 300. I'm gonna throw my pure. I threw this yesterday during our Dubs match and skied it way past the basket, but almost aced it. So I think just laying off it a little bit more, just on an ante line, I think it's perfect, this opto pure. It's a little short, it kind of fell out of my hand, but that disc is gliding enough that probably got an edge of circle look, maybe circle 2. I'm gonna try the fuse now. Oh, that's a great shot. Yeah, I don't need to throw anything else. I will try forehand just in case I'm not feeling the turnover shot. That's the Explorer. No, I have a hard time keeping that down. Oh, it's kind of in the open actually. Something pretty sweet that I've realized these past couple days, really focus on trying to throw turnover shots instead of just relying on forehands because they're a little bit easier on my body. They're a little bit more consistent in general, and they take a little less power to do because it just takes less power to throw back in than forehand most of the time. So I'm really confident right now that I can hit these turnover lines because normally it's like, okay, I'm throwing forehand no matter what. But this tournament, I think I'm gonna be throwing some turnovers because it's just a really good shot and it can match the grade of the ground really well as well. That being said, I still need to work a lot on my forehand because it is over there. But I mean, fuse is great. Pure, yeah, like I said, just edge of circle, and I misreleased. So release that one well, I'll be solid. It's better. Yeah. I really like chaining out on that right side today. All right, we got a ton of people on this hole, so I'm waiting, but it's the longest hole on the track. Hole 9, last hole of the front 9, 565 feet it says. It plays straight up this gap for about 500 feet. Actually, I'm gonna range it. And then to the right. You wanna be in the middle of the fairway, honestly. Maybe a little left side is better, but I'm trying to probably push a mid-range in the middle of the fairway. I might try my River and also my Explorer, which are all my hyzer flip discs. All right, so it's about 420-ish feet to the pole there. It opens up a little bit before there. So if you can try to get 360, it's a little aggressive, but it's a good play. Oh my gosh, 2 for 2. Much better. Get under it though. Oof. Wrong side, but that's down there. Keep turning. Wow, that's tough. You wanna play through? All right, that wasn't very confidence building. I probably want to practice this a couple more times. I'm gonna try my Rive and my other grays. I think it's just honestly a little bit extra focus. Like I know I can hit the shot. I just shanked my first 2 right because I opened. This is one of the things I really need to work on form work. My form is just not super consistent. I'm not throwing super far. And I realized watching some of my videos back as I edit them that I'm opening up so early. Like right here, my shoulders are open before the disc is out instead of staying curled and punching through the disc and then following through. And when I do it the second way, actually staying coiled, coming through, the disc goes where I want it to go. Otherwise, I spray it right. And that's what you saw this first couple shots, which happens when you get a little tired. I'm gonna play from a couple different positions just to get some practice in. I'm just gonna give it one more with the other grace that I have, hyzer flip line. This one's definitely gettable. I just need to throw a good first shot, and I did not do that. Oh, there we go. All right, that's the shot. All right. Actually, I don't need to practice that again. That's really confidence inducing. I calmed down my body, which I was not doing good at because I was rushing through this practice round because there's people behind me, I'm filming, got a lot going on. Calmed down my body, focused on my form, punched that line, probably threw it about 380, 400 feet. Now it should be a simple up shot. We'll play from there and a couple more places because you do want to practice getting yourself out of bad situations in case you're gonna have them on the fairway like I will here. And now you can actually see the hole, but this is where one of my really bad shanks landed. And now it's time to figure out, hey, how do I want to play the rest of this? I'm really cut off on this angle here. So I'm honestly thinking the best play for me, which sucks, is just to pitch out right into the middle of the fairway there, Or if I wanted to maybe get a little more aggressive, I could probably step out with a big forehand anhyzer shot with the fuse. But the big problem is that brings this tree, okay, that's so lucky because that brought so much into play and got me, what, 60 more feet? I think I still have like 360 into the pin from that first shot, so I'll probably just take that one and practice that, play that out, because that's another spot that I could land if I hit something early, or even if this tree just knocks me down. So we'll practice that real fast. Now I have people behind me, so I'm gonna focus on not rushing again. Still a really big shot from here. I think probably about 350, 360 maybe? 350. I might be able to get there on a forehand, but I'm gonna try my Explorer on a backhand. Oh, I don't know where my river went. Okay, it's not as flippy as my river. That's probably what I would have thrown, but it got me up there. All right, this is a good position too. River, fuse, a little bit easier, just forehand up there. About 80 feet further, much more comfortable forehand distance. I'm pretty sure my grace is like way up here though. Yep, we said that pole was 420, so I'm probably about 380, 400 feet. We got a backhand in or a straight forehand in, so I'm gonna practice both those real fast before these guys start yelling at me behind me. I think this forehand with the Toro on an anhyzer line is pretty solid from here. Oh yeah, birdie all day. Really need to practice that patent pending, but that's honestly fine. Explorer is about 40 feet that way. Honestly, with a decent putt to save par. Pure back in here. Not a great putt, but still a birdie putt for sure. Let's definitely play that hole that way, calm down. One thing I'm really focusing on this tournament is slowing my breathing down. Gets me centered, and when my adrenaline is pumping, when I'm going super fast, that's when I tend to open up my shoulders while I'm throwing, and you want to keep them coiled until you release your disc. So we made it to hole 10, looking straight ahead of us in just beyond those trees, 285 feet. And to be honest with you, this hole is why I brought one of these discs. This Thunderbird, because it's more stable than my super beat-in Champ Thunderbird, but it's way less stable than this Thunderbird. And I think it's the perfect shot for this hole because at 285, I can give it straight hyzer, but I can push those sides, which I did yesterday when I was out here playing doubles. Oh my gosh, not a great showing. And I think one of the things I've been realizing, my forehand hasn't been hitting well recently. And a lot of that is I'm stopping here. I'm not powering through the forehand. I mean, that is better, but those are not where you want to be. And I'm throwing on way too much hyzer. So I'm going to throw the same level of hyzer on this one, have it pop up a little bit, and we might not need that other Thunderbird. Way better. I think that was right over the basket. This tournament is part of the 4 that I'm playing this month tournaments, as well as playing some battle videos and doing a lot of work on the edits and stuff. I have not been doing as much field work as I need to, which is all excuses. But my off season pretty much starts not after this weekend, but the next one, because I don't think there's any more tournaments on our route that I'm going to be able to play. So that's pretty unfortunate, but it gives me the time to really work on developing a consistent and powerful forehand and backhand, working my putt even more, and really getting ready for next season, where honestly, even though I've only been playing since this January, I think I'm gonna try to actually play at least one Pro Tour event if I can get into it, but I have to prove to myself that I'm good enough to even try that. So one good thing to realize is even back here, this Thunderbird, we don't have a terrible lane to the basket. We don't have one for a putt, but like if I saw it off there, it's not the end of the world. I can still get up and down for par. And even here, I'm a little short. So I really got to work on throwing flat forehands and practicing that tomorrow, because all those were super hyzery. Solid, birdie-ish. I mean, we're not keeping score. All right, this could get unfortunate because it feels like it's about to start raining. And if it does, this camera is not weatherproof, so that would suck. But here we are at the next hole, 344, straight up the gut to where that guy was putting out. I'm thinking Explorer is my line. Just kind of hyzer flip it through this gap and have it finish back towards the basket. I will try River as well. I'm a little bit more hyzer, just a little bit more straight shot. This is a pretty tight line. I would think a Thunderbird, but I think it's gonna be between these two for sure. Just like that. Honestly, a little bit too much speed, too much fade. I mean, oh yeah, that just skipped down that hill. I think the River might remedy that because it's a little glidier and got less finish. Oh yeah. River for sure. Look how straight that disc is. All right, good to know. Gosh, I like that disc. You do not have to throw it hard. It goes far and straight. And that's one of the things I've really been realizing recently. I've been playing about 960 disc golf these last couple weekends, which isn't great by any means, but I'm pretty proud of it for the time being, how my minimum scores have improved. And one thing that's really helped that is focusing on how my disc is finishing towards the ground. Not just how it flies, not just hitting the gap, but hitting the gap and having the finish, because those both hit the gap pretty much identically. But the Explorer, being a beat-in overstable disc, goes left at the very end, whereas the River, even though it's relatively new, -1-1, it doesn't have a lot of finish, so it's gonna finish straight and push up to the basket. And I think I probably have 15 feet with my River, and maybe about 45 with the Explorer, even though they both are pretty much the same distance. River though, 20 feet. Honestly, I could throw it harder. I was trying to not throw it too hard because I didn't want to push it past the basket. It would be good to practice from beyond this retaining wall, just in case. I honestly don't mind putting up from there, so I'm not gonna be too worried about pushing it past the basket. So as long as I hit this gap, I got 60 feet to stay inside the circle. This is also another position where I might be putting from, so I do wanna get some putts in up at the basket from down here. Just off the cage. There it is. Good putt. All right, a basket straight ahead of us here. It is 302. We are going uphill, which is probably why it feels like it's more than that. So I'm gonna try how my Explorer works, my EMAC Truth, and my beat-in Thunderbird. EMAC Truth I think is enough disc, especially when I throw it on a big hyzer flip line to finish towards the basket, but the Explorer does have a good finish as well. I think EMAC Truth is gonna be the play. Oh, or throw it That's the other problem. I'm having to throw that closer to full power, which similar to the front nine, I was talking about how I could either throw that disc or a putter, and that disc is just easier to throw. So I threw that. I'm gonna try the Explorer now, and I don't think I'll spray it as much. Much better line. It's a little far though, so I think trying just the straight hyzer with a Thunderbird. Yep, get through that, and oh, that's honestly short. All right, this is definitely fairway hole, because I could get mid there, but my body isn't wanting to. We're gonna try evader. There it is. That's the shot. All right, I knew those evaders were in the bag for something. I do think that this tournament I'm gonna play hopefully better, because I've been playing some tournaments, getting practice in there. But I also have this practice in, so I know, hey, this looks like an EMAC truth hole, but you gotta juice it. And there's enough trees on the side that you spray it too much, you're screwed. So throw a fairway, but didn't throw my Thunderbirds, didn't like that. Didn't like my Explorer, was too flippy. That evader, perfect level of stability. So I'm gonna be able to practice all that and figure that out before the tournament instead of during. All right, rain is coming out. So unfortunately, I don't have a super nice camera that I can keep out in the rain. I'm honestly probably gonna stop practicing and go back and start editing this and then get out and putt and maybe finish this practice round later. So the rain kind of stopped fast, but I didn't want to throw anymore because I was already getting pretty tired. And luckily, one of the skills that I've learned as I just travel and play so much is playing courses relatively blind, especially having already gotten kind of a practice round in yesterday. Even though some of them weren't from the right tees, I'm not super worried about tomorrow because I have a plan that I can birdie every hole. I'm just gonna get some practice putting in later, but let's talk about the final bag for the tournament. All of this that we practiced with is coming out. What we're looking at here for kind of putter slots, my two zones, my Z zone and ESP, just in case I'm not feeling the Toro, but I think that this is pretty much gonna be the disc that I rely on. Then I have my very flippy pure for turnover shots, my stable Opto Pure, and then my two putting pures. I'm honestly gonna throw these down with the mid-ranges so I'm not tempted to take them out. For mids, Justice, Use, and then the two EMAC Truths, and then fairways got pared down a pretty decent bit. I have my River, my Explorer with the Evader right here, and then my two Thunderbirds. I don't need that third Thunderbird. I'm keeping my overstable Rive, my kind of middle degree stability Rive. I do just need a more overstable disc in general. Then I have my three Graces. This Grace actually is the same stability pretty much as this Grace, except it's actually a little more workable because it's slightly more stable. I did end up finding my Grace in the pond right after the rain came, so that's basically the same thing as my first run Grace, and so I don't want to bag both of these. And then my overstable Grace right here. Let me know what really overstable distance drivers I should try. I think I might be actually getting my hands on the Lone Star Tombstone soon, so that might be a really good option for that. It's not a lot of discs, honestly, compared to what I'm used to throwing, and I don't think I need that many, but I'm really excited for tomorrow. I'm gonna get some practice putting in. I'll post round recaps for round 1 and 2 with any of the footage that I'm able to shoot. Still trying to shoot that 1,000 rated round. As you can see my plan for the last tournament and how I was gonna do that here, and why I'm deciding to play MA1 down here instead of staying in MA2, even though I've only been playing 8 months. See you soon.